had an average rating of 3.33 stars. Certainly interesting to have that scene for the last scene of the book. Then I read Heated Rivalry, LOL, with an exclamation mark. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing my wrap up of December and January, because I realised that I haven't talked much about the books that I read in December just because I've been doing yearly wrap-ups of 2025 and doing so many videos about all the books that I read in 2025 that I haven't really gone much into depth about the books that I read in December. And I always do 2 months worth of wrap-ups because I don't really read enough in a month to do a whole video on it. And then I do my TBR bi-monthly as well, so I kind of try and do my wrap-up 1 month and then the next month my TBR and then the next month my wrap-up and the next month my TBR and so on. I used to do it on the odd months I do my TBR and on the even months I do my wrap up, but because I want to talk about my December books I'm going to change that. Odd months I'm going to do my wrap ups and the even months I'm going to do my TBR. Not that anyone probably cares, not that that makes a difference to anyone really, except me. Just in case you were wondering why they've changed order, that is why. So I'm going to start off with the books that I read in December. I read a total of 6 books in December, had an average rating of 3.33 stars, which isn't the best, but let's go through them. So the first book that I finished in December was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. There are 2 books and I've got the other one on my TBR, which is Crooked Kingdom. This is the first one and we follow a group of outcasts who get sent on a heist to steal something. Can I say what it is? Does it say on the back? A hostage is all it says, whose knowledge could change Grecian magic forever. So they get sent on a mission to go and get that hostage, and they are offered this massive prize if they do it. So Kaz, one of our main characters, puts together this group who he thinks would be best to perform this task, and they all go and do it together, and there's loads of different adventures along the way. You get all the different point of views of all the 6 people. A lot of found family, it's a little bit of romance, it's a lot of friendship, and it's just very fun watching them do the heist. They do the thing that Sarah J Maas does and a lot of fantasy authors do, where you don't know what the plan of the main character is until it's revealed to everyone else. So they'll start doing something and you think, oh my god, they've made a mistake, and it turns out that was part of their plan. And there's loads of things like that in this book and I find it really entertaining, and I gave this one a 4.5 stars. Next book I finished was Pucking Around by Emily Rath. Now this one has a bit of a story behind it. Basically, me and my boyfriend were in Waterstones once. We picked up this book because we were like, that's a crazy title, and we flipped to the last page, and I don't know if you've ever read the last page of this book, but it's, you know, certainly interesting to have that scene for the last scene of the book. Then it kind of became a little bit of an inside joke for me and my boyfriend, and then for Valentine's Day my boyfriend kindly bought me this book, and I have one of those things where if a book is on my shelf, unfortunately I have to read it. Like, I've read every single book on my shelf. Obviously I have my TBR cart here, which I haven't read, but every book that goes on my shelf is read, and every book that's on my TBR cart is going to be read. I did in fact read this book. It did take me 2 months to read, and there were 2 very painful months where I just would kind of skim a few chapters at a time, but I did end up finishing it. It was quite traumatizing. I'm not going to put anyone down for reading it. If you enjoy it, fair dues to you. It's not my sort of thing. It is like a why choose, which I've never been a fan of. Quite a romantic. I like there to be like one partner who they love and have their sole attention. I don't really like the whole why choose thing. I hate love triangles. I hate anything like that. So obviously this wasn't a book made for me, but I just read it because I had to read it. It was 1 star. And my review was, I wish to unread this. You know, if it's your thing, then it's your thing, but it's just not mine. Then I read A Heart for Christmas, which is a Advent romance. Now, obviously this was going to be a gimmick. I wasn't expecting it to be the most amazing book of all time. You basically read 1 chapter a day every day from the 1st to the 25th of December, or to the 24th of December. This is a little Christmassy romance. It was worse than I thought it was going to be. The main character was a little bit insufferable. I'm not gonna lie, I do understand where some of her struggles were coming from, but she was very horrible to everyone. She's got like a heart disease and she had to have a heart transplant, and she's now like scared to do a lot of things, which is a good concept for a book because then she meets this boy, and then she gets out of her comfort zone and she does all these things that she would be scared to do before, but I just didn't enjoy her as a main character, and the writing in this book was very cringy. I believe it's translated, so maybe it could be something to do with the translation, but there was literally a scene where someone said lol with an exclamation mark out loud, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I say lol, but seeing it written in capitals with an exclamation mark as part of the dialogue in a book was something new for me. Oh, I missed one out. I read Snowed In as well, Between Them, which is by Catherine Walsh, who's the author of Holiday Romance. Absolutely love Holiday Romance, so I wanted to check out Snowed In, which is the next book in that series. I know it was really good as a little fun Christmas book, but Holiday Romance was just a good romance, full stop. I don't think this one was anywhere near as good, but I still really enjoyed it, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Then I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, which is obviously a reread for me. I'm rereading the Throne of Glass books as audiobooks because I'm much better at reread audiobooks than I am at new audiobooks, because I just fail to pay attention a lot of the time when I'm listening to books, so it's much easier for me to do a reread. And then I also find rereading sometimes on physical books I can get a little bit bored because I know what's going to happen. Sometimes I don't. Like, I read reread You and Me on Vacation physically, and it was like the best experience I've ever had, but it does just depend on the book. I decided to reread these as audiobooks, and I'm really glad I did because I'm really enjoying my time. I'm now on Heir of Fire, which is the third or fourth book, depending on if you count the Assassin's Blade as the first book. It basically follows Selena Sardothian, and she is an assassin in the Assassin's Blade, and then in this book she is taking part in a competition to become the King's Assassin, and she basically has to fight against all these different contestants. Whoever wins gets to be the King's Assassin. Oh, there's a bookmark in here. I really enjoy like trials and competitions in books as well. This is one of my favourite books of the series just because of that. It's crazy to like go back on a reread after reading the end of Throne of Glass and Kingdom of Ash, and then going back to how our characters were at the start, because it's like so much changes between this book and the last one. Then I read Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I almost said Pierce Brosnan. This one is a new sort of genre for me because it's kind of like a sci-fi. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a sci-fi. And we basically follow Darrow, who is a hell diver. How do I put this in words? They like drill for things that are needed to sustain the planet of Mars, and they're told that they're kind of getting the planet of Mars ready so that humans can live there. And then I don't know how much I want to say because I don't know spoil anything. The thing is, if you read the back, you get a lot of the plot, but then it takes about 100 pages to get to that part of the plot, maybe even a bit more. And so I kind of found the start quite slow because I knew from reading the back what was going to happen, and I was kind of waiting for it to happen, so I don't really want to say what's on the back. He goes on this mission to overthrow the Golds, who are the rich, powerful people in this world. I gave it 4 stars because I did really enjoy it. I really enjoyed the concept. I'm not sure if I'm going to read the next one. I think I might at some point, but I'm not desperate to read it. The only thing I would say is don't often read books that are written by a man, and I find it very interesting how people say, you know, you can so tell when a book's written by a woman. You can also so tell when a book is written by a man. It's not anything bad. It's just like sometimes you're reading it and you're like, oh, I remember this is written by a man. Then I read Wild Duck Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. This one is a short book. I read it as my last book before the new year, and I was really trying to get to my reading goal of 65 books. Maybe I read it too quickly because everyone loves this book and I only gave it a 3-star. I thought it was good, but I thought it dragged on for a lot. I really do like her writing. She's really good at describing things, but then I think sometimes it drags on a little bit and not much is happening in the plot and we're just describing things. I think that a lot of the time, because things were happening so slowly, the tension of the scene and the interest that you have in the scene kind of dies off because everything is happening so slowly, and I don't know how, because it's quite a short book, but somehow it drags on. And I didn't think any of the like reveals or the tension scenes were filled with that much suspense because of that. I think it is described as a thriller, but I know that it's not supposed to be like a thriller. But I feel like with the concept of where it is and what's happening in the book, a little bit more tension could have definitely been made. Those are all the books that I read in December. Then we move on to January. In January, I didn't do too much reading. In January 2025, I read 9 books. Well, I didn't do that well this January. Okay, it's gonna say I read 7 books, but 2 of them were novellas of like 30 pages. And my average rating was a 3.79. Again, it's not going too well, but I did find a very good book in amongst these. I did find 2 very good books in amongst these. Okay, the first book that I read in January was Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I really enjoyed this book. It is quite a thick book. It took me a while to read. I was quite busy in January because it's my birthday month and I feel like it's New Year and you're trying to do all your New Year's resolutions and everything. So I took quite a while to read this one, 2 weeks to read this one. But I gave it a 4.5. It was very, very close to a 5-star, but I think because I took 2 weeks to read it, it wasn't. Maybe if I did read it all in like a week or less, I would have given it more, but I was just a bit busy. I knew that it was going to be good as soon as I saw this quote on the front. I don't know if you can see that. And then also it's got this picture inside. It's a very beautiful book. And then when you go inside the book, it's got a contents page, and I love a contents page in a book, and it's also a very pretty contents page, and so I just had very high hopes for this book. I've seen amazing reviews for it anyway, but as soon as I opened it and I saw that contents page, I was like, oh, I'm gonna eat this up, and I did. So we basically follow Matilda, who is a goddess, and I always forget names. It's nothing on the book. Vincent. I think he's like a lord, I don't know what you'd call it, but he's like the lord of a house in the real world, and then Matilda is a goddess in the underworld. And Vincent starts having these dreams where he sees Matilda and she keeps like appearing in his dreams and helping him. And then one day when he needs her most, she stops appearing in his dreams. She doesn't reply to his pleas of help because she could send like pleas of help to the goddesses. They kind of fall out of contact. They never make contact again until later, much later on. Matilda hears word that he is in danger and she goes to help him, and there's a bit of like a romance that happens, but he feels betrayed by her because he didn't hear from her when he needed her most. It's a prequel to Divine Rivals, which I loved. I love Divine Rivals. I didn't love Ruthless Vows so much, but I think she's definitely clawed back her status of one of my favourite authors with this book, and I'll definitely be reading whatever else she comes out with. Then I started the Game Changers series, which if you didn't know is the series of books that Heated Rivalry comes from. So there's 7 books, or there will be 7 books by September. The first book follows Scott and Kip, who is episode 3 of Heated Rivalry. The second book is Heated Rivalry, which is what the first series of Heated Rivalry is based on. And then I think there's 3 more books in between that and then the Heated Rivalry season 2 book. Obviously season 2 hasn't come out yet, but that will be season 2. And then in September the season 3 book will be coming out. So first book is Game Changer, which follows Scott and Kip. Scott is a world famous hockey player and Kip is just a normal guy, and they meet one day at a cafe and Kip makes Scott a blueberry smoothie. Scott then breaks his losing streak and starts playing really well after he's been playing really badly, and so he kind of has this superstition where he has to keep going back and repeating the same things that he did when he played really well, and so he keeps going back to Kip's smoothie shop and they kind of develop a romance. But in the ice hockey world it's not really accepted to be gay, and you know there's a lot of like slurs thrown around the changing rooms, and he's not out as gay and he doesn't want to come out as gay. They kind of get into a relationship, but it caused a lot of strain by Scott not wanting to come out because Kip is already out to everyone and he's kind of having to keep it as a secret and everything. I gave that one 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. It's just like fun romance. I wouldn't take it too seriously, but I did really enjoy it, and the ending is so amazing as well. Then there's a little short story, Merry Christmas Scott and Kip, which I gave 3 stars. It's just literally like 30 pages of them having Christmas dinner at Kip's parents' house. Then I read Heated Rivalry, which is the book that the series that is now out of Heated Rivalry is based on. I gave that one a 4.5 stars. The only thing is it's very physical at the start, which I kind of didn't like, but now obviously as you read more of the book you understand it more. But as just reading the book for the first time. I was reading it a little bit slower at the start because I didn't like the bit where it was just physical. Probably if I reread it now, it'd be a 5 stars. But you all know Heated Rivalry is amazing. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. It is quite a lot in the first 2 episodes, but keep with it if you're struggling, because it will be the best thing that you've ever watched, and it was the best thing I've ever watched. So, and Heated Rivalry, if you didn't know already, follows 2 hockey players, Ilya and Shane, and they are like rivals. So they've played against each other since they were younger, and the media have created this whole story about how they hate each other, but secretly ever since they were younger they have been doing things over like years and years and years. More emotional feelings come into it and all of that stuff. And then again, I read another novella, which is My Dinner with Hayden, which is basically at the end of the story. I don't want to spoil anything that happens, but they have dinner with one of Shane's friends, and it's quite funny. I gave it 4 stars, but again, it's just a little short story. That was the final book. That wasn't 7 books. Oh, I didn't filter it to January. 5 books. Okay, 5 books, and the average rating was a 4 star. I was gonna say, I thought I read quite a few good books in January. Okay, well those are all the books. You're gonna have to wait until February to find out which book I was about to say. Those are all the books that I've read. I'm sorry this wrap up is a bit late. I was kind of trying to figure out what way to do my wrap ups and my TBRs from now on, but I think this way works, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know any books that you've read in the past few months that you've really enjoyed in the comments below. If you want to, you can subscribe down below and turn on my bell. You'll be notified every time that I upload, which is every Sunday. And if you want to, you can follow my social medias at _libraryofeden on both TikTok and Instagram, which is also always book related content. And I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye.